Good morning, everyone. I just want to welcome everyone to our annual Grandparents' Day celebration. For those of you that were with us last year, we tried to do it in our lunchroom, and so it was a little bit claustrophobic, we'll just say that. So this year, Mrs. Trana had an idea, why don't we have our program at the church so that we can all breathe a little bit better. And so that's what we're going to do today. And we just want to welcome everyone. This year we were also able to live stream this event. So welcome all those that are watching via the internet as well. So we have a great program planned for you today. Immediately following our program, we're just asking everyone that can to walk with us over to the church or over to the school. We have refreshments for you. And I know you'd like to visit your grandkids' classroom. Lots of them have some activities, things for you to do there. And so we just thank you for being with us today. We're going to start our program with the girls are going to have a prayer for us, and then immediately following that, it's a little bit different than it's in our program, but Braden Denler, Sydney, and Peyton are going to share a little bit about Grandparents' Day history with us. So girls, if you'd have prayer for us.
Bow our heads. Dear Jesus, thank you for this day. Thank you that the grandparents can drive safely here. And we all love you. Amen.
In 1970, a West Virginia housewife, Marion McLeod, initiated a campaign to set aside a special day for grandparents. A native of Fayette County, Marion and her husband Joe are the parents of 15 children, and they have 40 grandchildren and 8 great-grandchildren.
Miss McQuaid and her team of friends, church members, and business and civic leaders turned to the media to garner support. In 1978, the United States Congress passed legislation proclaiming the first Sunday after Labor Day as National Grandparents' Day. The proclamation was signed by President Jimmy Carter. Today, this event began by only a few, is observed by millions throughout the United States.
Grandparents' Day is a family day. This day has a threefold purpose: to honor grandparents, to give grandparents an opportunity to show love for their children's children, and to help children become aware of the strength, information, and guidance older people can offer.
W is for wonderful. E is for excellent. A heart because we love you. O is for old, at least older than me. U is for unique. R is for raisins. R is for raisins. Don't put them in my cookies. G is for grand. R is for rocking chair.
Hold up your sign. Hold up your sign.
A for awesome. N is for nice.
Say it again.
N is for nice. D is for delightful.
Hold up your sign. Hold up your sign.
P is for perfect. A is for amazing.
Hold up your sign.
R is for walk and chill.
Reading together.
R for win together. E is for endearing.
Hold it up.
E is for endearing.
Hold up your sign. T. T is for tea parties.
N is for neckties. S is for sleepovers.
Good job. Hold up your sign. Remember? Woohoo!
Woohoo.
We have a few students who have written a letter to their grandparents, and they volunteered to share them. So just because they didn't share today doesn't mean that they didn't love you or didn't write one, but we just had a few brave volunteers to share. So we have some that are going to share right now, starting with Emerson Skelly.
Do I have to say? Okay. Dear Sita, you are one of the best grandparents in the world. I love you so much. Thank you for spending time with me. I love it when you help me with spelling. It's so fun to talk to you. One of my favorite memories with you is the time we were texting crazy. I'll never forget that day. I can't wait until we see each other again. Until then, remember that I love you. Love, Emerson.
All right, Kate Stocks would like to come up and share her letter to her grandparent.
Dear Nani, you are the best grandma in the world. Thank you for spending time with me. I love when we swim in the lake together. It's so fun to go on the boat and go under the bridge. One of my favorite memories with you was when we went, forget when we saw the baby ducklings. I really love when we tell me stories when my dad was little. Your stories make me so happy. I can't wait until I see you at Thanksgiving when I see each other again. Until then, remember that I love you. Love, Kate.
Izzy Straka, or Isabel Straka.
Dear Grandma, you are the best grandma in the world. I love you so much. Thank you for spending time with me. I love when we do crafts. Sometimes together it's so fun. Go to the new pool in Hutchinson. One of my favorite memories with you was the time we went to the park. I will never forget that memory. I really love when you tell me stories about Jesus. Your stories make me always feel so good. I can't wait until next day when we will see each other. Again, until then, remember that I love you.
Isabella Lunt.
Okay. Dear Grandma Connie, you are the best grandma in the world. I love you so much. Thank you for spending time with me. Wait. I love when we go to the park, go on walks together. It's so fun to play with. It's so fun to see nature, I guess. One of my favorite memories was the time we waited, was the time we, I mixed up my letter. Was the time we baked zucchini bread. I will never forget it. I really love it when you tell me stories about kind of funny things. Stories make me feel so happy. I can't wait until Grandparents' Day when we do see each other again. Until then, remember that I love you. Love, Isabella Lund.
This year, to conclude our program, we thought we would have a grandparent share time. So many of you have wonderful things, stories, memories to share, and we wanted to give you a moment to do that this year. So we're going to do it testimonial style, meaning that you can stay in your seat. You may stay seated, or you can stand where you are, and we'll pass the mic around. It could go something like this. Hi, my name is Tiffany. I'm grandma to Joseph. And the tagline is going to be, when I was your age. For example, you could share a funny story from when you were younger. Maybe a current event that was happening when you were a child. Maybe a time when you got into trouble. You could share what your favorite food was, or a fun school memory, or what school was like when you were younger. So just be thinking. I've asked a couple grandparents to get us started, and if you would like to have to share a memory after that, please just raise your hand and we'll bring the microphone to you. We're going to have Kathy Trana start us off.
Hi, I'm Kathy Trana. My grandchildren are Sally and Stella Trana. When I was your age, I lived in the cities, and I had 3 brothers and 1 sister. And we walked to school, and it was about a mile. Now, you might think that was a long ways to walk.
All uphill.
But we had a game that we used to play. In the wintertime, when it snowed, there were sidewalks, and everybody would shovel their snow towards the street, and then the snowplow would come along, and he would plow the snow, and it would make a great big hill. Well, when I was your age, those hills looked really big, and we pretended they were mountains, and we were billy goats. And so every day we would get up and put on our winter clothes. We couldn't wait to get out there and climb those mountains. But we made a game of it. We would get up on those hills, and we had to walk them all the way to school. And the one that got there without falling off was the winner. Do you think I was ever the winner? No, you're absolutely right. My brothers and my sister were all better billy goats than I was. But do you think I had fun? So even if you're not a winner, can you have fun? Right, and I did when I was your age.
I have the same kids as she does in school. Anyhow, one of my stories is that when I was about 8 years old, my brother and I, we lived on a farm, and we saw a baby owl, or about a half-grown owl, in our granary. And we decided to catch that owl. Well, we caught it, and my dad built a cage for it, and so we've tried to figure out what the owl would eat. Well, my dad said the owl's most favorite food is mice. He said, if you're going to keep this owl, you're going to have to set traps all over and catch at least 1 mouse a day. It would eat some grain, but it liked mice best. We kept it in a cage for about a month, and it became so tame that we could actually take it out, and it would sit on my bicycle, the front basket that I had, and it would ride there. But when we'd catch the mice, we'd hold the mouse up by its tail, and it would put its head up, and then it would let the mouse go in real slow. And my mother, she could not watch it. In the fall, we opened up the cage, and we let the owl come and go, and he went back into the wild then.
I'm Diane, and I have 4 grandchildren here, Mitchell and Isabel and Stella and Sally. When I was from 3rd grade to 8th grade, I went to a church school, much like you guys go to, only my church school was a little smaller. It only had 2 rooms, not as big as yours. And I would get to school much the same way that you come to school. I would ride in a car. My best friend's mother would pick me up every morning and take me to school with them. And but in the wintertime, when it came wintertime, I had another way of getting to school. Who here is 10? You're 10? Okay. When I was about 10 years old, we had snowmobiles, and I loved my snowmobile. And I would snowmobile after school, but that wasn't enough. So I came up with an idea that I wanted to ride my snowmobile to school. That's how I was going to get back and forth to school. So I pleaded with my dad and begged him, please let me ride my snowmobile to school. He finally relented, but I had under 2 conditions. One, I had to learn to start it by myself, and I was only 10, and it was very hard to start, very tricky. You had to pull it, and you had to learn how to choke it. And the other condition was I could ride the snowmobile to school as long as it was warmer than 30 below. If it was 30 below, I couldn't ride my snowmobile. So I would get up in the morning and go to the kitchen window and look at the temperature, and if it was above 30 below, I could ride my snowmobile to school, which I did a lot of days.
I have 2 grandchildren here, Ethan and Mariah, and little Isaac will be coming there shortly. But when I was your age, what I remember, it brought a memory back this week when the kids were over to our house. Grandma Verna had a bag of grapes and had some, always has frozen blueberries in the, so they're always hungry after school. I used to ride bus. I lived 2 blocks from here, 3, and I'd always have to ride the bus back and forth to school. And every time coming back from school, I would run home because my mom would have homemade biscuits made and fresh butter on there and peanut butter. I was always hungry after school, and then my grandkids are the same. Or else she'd make pie crust with cinnamon and sugar on it. And it was just great to get home to have something fill up that stomach.
AJ is my grandson. And when I was young, we were out in the pasture running around, and there's a mother skunk carrying her little baby in her mouth. And we chased it, and she dropped it. And we took it home and fed it milk in a little baby bottle. And it got big, and we never had it deskunked. And it lived with us for a couple of years, and my sister even grabbed it by the tail and threw it off the porch, and she would never spray us because we were friends. And she would halfway hibernate in the wintertime underneath the grain bin in the barn. And eventually she went to a neighbor's place one time, and I think he got scared of it and shot it. So anyway, that's what happened.
I have 3 grandchildren here part-time, Sammy, Maddie, and Ruthie, and they're always happy to see the grandma and grandpa come, like that. But when I grew up, I think you were at Wadena, weren't you? Mrs. Trana, you were at Wadena, and I was at Henning growing up, which is probably 20 miles further. But anyway, my favorite story about going to country school is we walked 1.5 miles in 2 tenths. And we were late usually. But my favorite story is about my sister Marie. She had a twin, Marvin, and she never ever talked in school. But if you talked in school, the teacher let you write your name on the board, and you'd have to stay after school. Well, Marie never talked. So she went into the bathroom, jumped out the window. The teacher said to her twin, Marvin, who was a prankster, he says, "You go get her." And he went to the door and he said, "Run, Marie, run." And the teacher never said anything about it.
Okay. Maybe it's my breath. My granddaughters are Zoe and Izzy Gaslin. And I like a lot of the other kids too. When I was little, all I could think about were ponies. So when we lived up in northern Minnesota, and we didn't have an outdoor light, we didn't have an outdoor light, so it was dark out. When it was dark out, all you could see was with the stars if it was a clear night. And I'd go out, when I'd find out when it was clear, I'd run outside and I'd sit on the step and I'd wish for a pony every night. I was the most boring kid. So finally I got a pony, and that pony had a baby. It was in the spring, and I was still in school, and it rained all day. And I was so worried about that baby getting wet and getting sick. So I came up with a really brilliant idea. It was a Friday, and always on Friday when we got home from school, we had a long driveway we would walk up. It was 2 miles and 7/10 and 8/16 and all that stuff. No, it wasn't, but it seemed like it. On Friday, we could walk in the door, and it always smelled like Sabbath. The food was, my mom would always be baking for the next day, and so I had a really good idea. I thought, it's going to smell really good in the house, and we didn't have a barn for that pony. So what I did before I went in the house, I got my pony and her baby, and I ran around behind the house, and we had a walk-in basement. And that rec room that we had, pretty much wrecked it. It didn't have carpet or anything. So I took the pony and I put her in there with her baby, and I ran around the house again, and I went in the house. And my mom was cooking, and she asked me the same questions. Hi, Cindy, how'd school go? Hi, good, yeah, same thing. She's cooking away, and she said, what smells? I said, I don't know. And so pretty soon, it was like a half hour later, she said, what smells like manure? Well, finally, she got really smart, and she went downstairs, and she found a pony and a baby in her basement. She wasn't very happy. But we got her out, got the basement cleaned up. Like I said, there was no carpet. So pretty soon, a few hours later, the house smelled really good again. I just remember when I was your age, all I could think about was ponies.
My name is Connie, and my grandchildren are Henry and Isabella Lund. And a memory I have from when I was your age was I learned how sweet and nice upper graders were because I didn't know how to play baseball, and we played kickball according to the rules of baseball. And we had 2 teams. And as girls, we wore dresses to school every day. But when it came my turn to be up to bat or up to kick, the pitcher rolled the ball to me so slowly I couldn't possibly miss it. And I kicked it with all my might, with all my strength, and it went somewhere. It went a little ways toward the pitcher. And the pitcher ran to get it, and all the kids, the upper graders, said, run, Wally, run, because my nickname was Wally. And they said, run, you're going to make it. And I got to first base, and they said, keep going. So I ran to second base, and then I ran to third. They said, keep going, you're going to make a home run. And I ran all the way around and crossed home base and made what they called a home run. And I went home that day from school so extremely excited about how good at sports I was. I said, I made a home run. And it was a few years later when I realized how very sweet and nice those upper graders were, because they kept fumbling the ball all over the place just so I could make a score. And that's a memory I will never forget.
I'm Mrs. Eno, and I feel like I'm grandma to all these kids. But kids, when I was your age, believe it or not, I did not like music class. For those of you who don't know, I'm the music teacher here. The reason was because I went to a small school also, and all we ever did for music class, at least all I ever remember, is draw pictures while the teacher played music that was boring. I thought. And I couldn't draw, so I hated music class. I never realized back then that I would grow up to be a music teacher, and I love it. And so you need to pay attention to all your classes, because you don't know what you're going to grow up to be.
Grandparents, I'm sure we have quite a few more stories. So if you have something that you want to share, please do that with your grandchildren today as we go back to the school. Be sure to share a sweet memory about when you were their age.
We just want to thank everyone for coming. Thank everyone for coming, and just we'd ask that if you were able to, if you would walk with your grandchildren back to the school rather than drive. We'd like to cut back on the amount of traffic that is going to be going that way. If you are driving, please be really careful because there's going to be a lot of foot traffic. So if you're able to walk with your grandchildren to the school and come back to your car, please do that. We understand if you need to drive, that's fine. But please be careful because there'll be a lot of people walking. So please join us at the school now for some refreshments and fun.